அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி தனிப்பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி எல்லா உயிர்களும் இன்புற்று வாழ்க கொல்லா நெறியே குவலயமெல்லாம் ஓங்குக. தயவு பெருநெறி என்ற இந்நூல் தயாஜோதியில் இருந்து வரும் சத்திய மெய் இன்ப வாழ்வு பெற வழிகாட்டும் சத்திய நூல் என்பதாக திண்டுக்கல் சுவாமி சரவணானந்தா அவர்கள் குறிப்பிட்டுள்ளார்கள். இந்த நூல் 17/1/1995 நாள் தைப்பூச விழா நாள் அன்று வெளியிடப்பட்டுள்ளது. இதில் ஆங்கில உரை முதலிலே சுவாமி அவர்கள் வரைந்துள்ளார்கள். அந்த ஆங்கில உரை தற்பொழுது அன்பர்களின் தகவலுக்காக தரப்பட உள்ளது. தயவு. Forward. The perfect gracious path. The Almighty is ever existing, that is to say, it is eternal. The omnigrace is its real nature of the inborn nature of the Almighty. The whole universe is the outcome of His 5 external aspects. In Tamil, it is noted as Prapancha. The 5 aspects are 1. Matter, 2. Energy, 3. Intellect, 4. Omni-soul power, and 5. Universal blissful life. All these are different expressions of the one Supreme God. But the base for all these is one, that is omnigrace. From the omnigrace alone, all these aspects are coming out in due course for the final realization in the life of perfect man. The complete truth of God can be comprehended only by man and lead a perpetual life of divine bliss. The omnipotent God is eternally existing in 2 aspects. What all we can see and sense in the outer universe is the outer aspect of Him, while the cause and effect of this boundless universe is the inner aspect of Him. Though these 2 aspects are eternal, the outer one is visible and ever changing, while on the other hand, the inner one is invisible and remains changeless. From the innermost, the Almighty power is ever expressing out, all to appear, disappear, and reappear in the whole universe. The man, with all his sense organs, reasoning mind, material and mechanical aids, is unable to find out either the outermost of the universe or the innermost of himself. The scientists and philosophers, with all their trained skill, have tried to probe towards either extremity, but ended in vain. No doubt, the material scientist's vision has reached some stellar region, but he has actually visited and landed the lunar sphere only. The spiritual philosophers and yogis have gone up deep into themselves, and there they have experienced some divine mystic power. From this inner experience of the self or soul, which is permanent, the knowledge of the 2 aspects of God has come to light. Till this moment, the truth of God in its full capacity has not been expressed out, and consequently, the divine life of eternal bliss has not been realized in this world. Even though the creation has been set in motion and continued for several millions of years, only the man is endowed with the reasoning mind. By this mental power, he is rising from the bodily material plane to higher levels, and that even little by little spread over through several births on this planet. The mind of man is the fourth on the central plane situated in the heart of him. When he looks down from this, he leads a material life, whereas when he moves up, he makes a leap towards the spiritual life. In this later life, higher knowledge of spirit, soul, and God has been comprehended and experienced to some degree. To him, the spiritual life was wonderful and all at the same time admirable. Many of our Oriental masters were adepts in the spiritual science and philosophy. Their proficiency in spiritual attainment or yoga siddhis were considered to be very high and valuable. To attain occult powers, some laws of ethics, mystic paths, and rules were charted out by them. They concentrated on inner centers, especially on soul, from where they drew all their inspiration and spiritual power, making the worldly pupil to admire them with great astonishment. This has sowed the seed for the advent of the so-called religion. In course of time, several masters came up and each of them made his own religion. This fanaticism penetrated deep in the world, and due to their superiority complex, the whole world is heading towards a chaos now. From the above, it is clear that all the worldly religions are unable to make the man to live in the eternal blissful life in this world. Such religious end was thought to be the final emancipation to the humanity. No other end was even dreamt of by the great souls. Now the theme before the man is how to overcome this disease. Will it be possible to root it out? The answer is narrated below. It has been acknowledged that universe-filled divinity is the universal soul, and an atom of it in man is the individual soul of man. Thus, it is common to both God and man. But in reality, of higher divine experience alone, man and God are found to be one and the same. To get at this truth, the man in the first path has to eschew all the ephemeral pleasures and then get at the soul abode. From here, he has to lead a compassionate, pure life combined with meditation and merciful deeds to all the fellow beings. In course of time, the divine love will be springing up to him from the innermost. At this stage, he is given to understand that by this omni grace, he is entitled to live with eternal bliss forever. It is also made clear that this eternal life of God is the divine right of man. Unaware of this divine right, man is passing away only due to his ignorance. Time has come up now to put an end to this ignorance also, since death is now construed to be not the end of the man. The next question that arises is whether there is any precedence for this. The answer is in the affirmative. It happened so in the last quarter of the 19th century itself. Some of us may know this, but many others not. Saint Ramalingam, who goes by the name Thiru Arupragasa Vallalar, in the later period is the first soul to achieve this object and deliver the goods to the world. Those who wanted to know about him made attempts only from the material world, and thus this has not brought out any real achievement to the world so far. Further, it was the time when the Hindu society was steeped in religious conflicts, sectarian battles, and casteism, rival religions made capital out of it and won countless adherents to their religions. Mostly hurt by this, the sensitive soul of the white robed monk has dedicated his life and work in preaching and practicing the plenary tenets, tenets of a universal religion based on the God's concentrated beatitude, for which deep meditation, satvisaram, and profound compassion, parobharam, were most essential. These often find place in many parts of the poems he has composed. He was last seen with the physical body 1870 to 1874 at a place called Siddhivalagam in the village of Metukuppam at Vadalur in Tamil Nadu of South India. On the 30th January 1874 at 12 o'clock midnight, he has transmuted the physical body and attained the three Dega Siddhi and thus begun to live as God-man, which is considered to be the will of the Almighty. Through divine initiation, he has composed several thousands of poems in Tamil, and later they have been published in book form under the name Thiru Arutpa. All these are the outcome of the inner light and its experience only. It can be seen that he has given the entire credit only to Arutperum Jodi, the inner light, since it is the guiding factor for all. At the same time, unlike others, he has not degraded the holy priests or the deities, as he was fully conscious that they are also the real Arutperum Jodi clothed in some form. By this, he tries to establish an egalitarian society in the humankind. His last utterance is that he has been elevated to this unique position only through Dayavu, mercifulness, and everybody is entitled for it, for which they should also treat the same path he followed. The word Dayavu in Tamil can be expressed as compassion, pity, help, mercy, grace, etc. in English. But in Tamil, it has got a wider meaning. That is to say, that it is not only compassion, but man is the other form of grace, and he is always one with him, since the Almighty is omni-graceful. So the old conception that man is a separate one, and to attain the Godhead, he should leave this physical body, is now found to be totally wrong. Dayavu is a newly coined word to symbolize God and his attribute of inseparability. His eternal form of light is represented by the letter D. The 5 vowels A, E, I, O, U are there only to make him realizable, my man of perfection, to live forever in oneness of blissful life. Based on this principle, the book titled The Perfect Gracious Path is being published now. It is not only fully saturated with the outcome of the theories enunciated by Vallalar, but also has made us an instrument to sponsor them to the whole of mankind through the few pages edited in. It is thus nothing else that is grace only. This book comprises of 25 chapters. All these were published in the form of separate article through the monthly journal called Vallalar Gurukulam during the period October 1982 to January 1985. In those days, the response for this was found to be very little. Now the time has set in. Some aspirants have come forward to compile all these articles in a book form and present it to the world. This book is thus an outcome of their sincere endeavor. The following paragraphs will elucidate the readers of the book to some extent, but if they dive deep, they can reap the reward of virtue to the fullest extent. The contents of the chapters are given below. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. In these chapters, the various means adopted by the ancestors for confirming their views as the correct one have been explained in a lucid manner. The difference between the old and new paths has been fully discussed, and it has been concluded that the new path, Sanmarga, is not at all a new one, but one existed even from the very beginning, but left to be unrealized only due to the ignorance of man. Chapters 4 and 5. The reason why and how this big universe has been created has been dealt with in clear terms. Only to gain experience, the soul atom, which was till now in the inert stage, has been induced to the form of creepers and trees as a first stage. After gaining full experience there, it is elevated to the second, third, fourth, and fifth stages. It is only in the fifth stage it is brought to the lives of animal kingdom. Finally, it is ordained to take the form of human beings, with which the soul is able to understand the real truth and thereby live a blessed eternal life. Chapter 6. This deals with the heading The Nature, its attributes, and its consequences. The only natural path is termed as Sanmarga, whereas all others are held to be only artificial ones. After an elaborate discussion, it has been confirmed that Sanmarga alone can make the man to live forever. Chapter 7. The circumstances under which the creation, existence, and destruction are continued in this universe are fully discussed here. The deep-rooted belief that fat is the vital force and nothing can surpass it is falsified now, and through Suddha Sanmarga alone, one is able to live forever after spreading out the birth circle is well established herein. Once again, Chapter 7. The circumstances under which the creation, existence, and destruction are continued in this universe are fully discussed here. The deep-rooted belief that fate is the vital force and nothing can surpass it is falsified now, and through Suddha Sanmarga alone, one is able to live forever after spearing out the birth circle is well established herein. Chapter 8. The meaning of the word Atma and soul has been discussed in a lucid form. Chapter 9. The principle underlying the God and the human form is one, and the same is again expressed in this chapter. The sole right of the man to live forever with a blissed life is the only will and order of the Almighty is thus repeated here. Chapter 10. What is world? What is word? How it has been derived out? The meaning of substance. These are the main subjects dealt in here. The words Om and Arutperinjodi have been taken up for annotation and explained in very clear terms. Chapter 11. It is the Almighty who has ordained the soul, Vallalar, to get the boon of living a blessed life forever on this earth for the first instance. This is the vital point of this edition, which has been explained with more details in the adjacent chapters. Here, the truth that the Almighty Himself is noted as Dayavu, omnigrace, and thus the title of the chapter is noted as the truth relating to Dayavu. Chapters 12 to 25, in all these chapters, the word Dayavu remains as the pivot. All the other things are encircling it in several forms and make the fragrance sweeter. This fragrance, unlike the worldly ones, is not short-lived. Everyone has to smell it and live in the world doing merciful deeds combined with meditation, thereby making his thoughts, words, and deeds transformed into a divine one and live forever leading a Dayavu life. In fine, this book has been published in Tamil in such simple terms that anyone can enjoy it. This is fully permeated with an undefinable fervor. It is thus essential that all Sanmargis should make it a point to keep a copy of this book in their handbook bags always, at least to remind them that they are carrying a gospel with them in their walk of life. The main idea of publishing this book is to make the mankind to know the real truth and to spread it to all the corners of the world. Therefore, it is most essential that it can be translated in other languages also, so that non-Tamils may have the opportunity of knowing this. The perfect gracious path to be the only path in the world which can make the humanity for leading a gracious life of universal brotherhood. It is hoped that the book will be an important guidance to the whole mankind to make the life ever blissful. Let all live in the world along with Dayavu life. Satyanyana Kootam, Dindukkal, 23rd November 1994, Saravanananda. இத்துடன் இந்த ஆங்கில முன்னுரை நிறைவு பெறுகிறது. அருட்பெருஞ்சோதி அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி, தனிப்பெரும் கருணை அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி தயவு.
திருவருட்பிரகாச வள்ளற் பெருமான் வகுத்தளித்த சுத்த சன்மார்க்க நெறியினை விளக்கும் பல்வேறு விளக்க உரை நூல்களும், திருவருட்பிரகாச வள்ளற் பெருமான் வகுத்தளித்த திருவருட்பாவின் பல்வேறு பதிகங்களுக்கு சிறப்பான அற்புதமான உரை விளக்கங்களும் அளித்த திண்டுக்கல் சுவாமி சரவணானந்தா அவர்கள்